Hi guys, how are we? I'm just checking all the tech's working. So I'm just making sure I can see myself live on the Cake Stuff page. And I can. So first of all, thank you so much Cake Stuff for inviting me to do this demonstration on your page. I'm Kerry Hems, I'm from Angel's Kitchen and I'm based down near Cheddar Gorge near Bristol. Well, before we were all locked in, I was making lots of wedding cakes and also doing lots of teaching. And as a Cake Stuff brand ambassador, Suzanne, Esper and myself have been invited to come and do a live weekly as long as Cake Stuff will keep us. And we can do anything that you want us to. So we've both got lots of experience making celebration and wedding cakes and also with teaching. So if there's anything in particular that you would like to learn, or if you have maybe bought something from Cake Stuff and you've kept it in the cupboard and you haven't used it, or there's something you really want to buy but you're just not sure if it's worth it, just let us know and we can have a try and we can put it on one of these videos so you can see what we think about it. Okay, so, oh, there's lots of you watching already, how exciting. Let me just get it so I can see your comments. So if anyone does have any comments, or any questions, do please put them in the comments. I'll try and answer them as we go along. If not, I will address them all at the end. So what we are going to do today is we are going to make cupcakes. For me, when I am making a celebration or a wedding cake, it has to look beautiful, but it has to taste delicious as well. So that's one of the most important things for me. So it all starts right at the beginning with baking the perfect sponge. So I thought if we started today with some cupcakes, we're going to bake 12 cupcakes. I'm going to show you how to make Biscoff cupcakes because they are really popular at the moment. They certainly are in my house. Everyone seems to be completely addicted to Biscoff. I see lots of it on Facebook as well. So we're going to make a caramel sponge and we're going to fill them with Biscoff and then we're going to put some Biscoff buttercream on top. So I'll show you a few ways of piping buttercream as well. What I'm going to do is bake the cupcakes, pop them in the oven that I have already turned on, and then if you can see over my shoulder, Blue Peter Styly, I do have some I baked earlier so I can show you how I finish them off before I decorate them, and then a few ways that I decorate them as well. Someone's just said hello. Hi Gordon, thank you for saying hello. It's always nice to know that there are people out there watching and I'm not just talking to myself. Right, so I'm going to be making the Biscoff cupcakes today, but I will tell you how to make this a vanilla sponge. Now this recipe I'm going to teach you is very easy. It's one that when I am teaching my children's cupcake classes, I tell the children how to make these cupcakes and I give them my recipe and I tell them they will never need a recipe book, they just need to remember one simple rule. And I always see the mums leaning forward a bit and listening intently because it's not something that they've generally heard. But if there are grandparents there, the grandparents are all there nodding and going, yeah, I knew that, I knew that. So it seems to be that this technique that I use kind of skipped a generation. Somewhere along the line, people forgot to tell us. Now, my mum told me and her nan told her, so I'm now going to tell you. It's a very easy way of making cakes, and I'm sure a lot of you do this already. But basically, what you need is a set of scales, and you need to know how many eggs you're using. So I'm going to flip the screen round so you can see what I'm doing. I will keep myself in the corner just for a moment, and then when I get in the way, I'll move myself out of the way. So what you need to do, I know that I am making 12 cupcakes. And for my 12 cupcakes, I know that I need 2 medium to large eggs. So the first thing I'm going to do is weigh those eggs. Once my scales come on, there we go. I'm going to weigh those eggs. Let's get rid of that. There we go. So you can see, I'm going to weigh those eggs and they are 133 grams. So that is the number that I have to remember. So regardless of how many eggs I've got, this also works if you are making a 10-inch round or a 12-inch round sponge cake and you are using 22 eggs. This is the same method you can use. So I weigh my eggs, that's 133 grams, or 134 grams now. They've got heavier. So I do weigh them with their shells on. Now there is a lot of controversy around this, around this. A lot of people say, oh no, you take the shells off. A lot of people say you leave the shells on. I don't think we're ever going to win this. It's like the scones. Do you put the jam on first or the cream on first? Now I know that obviously you put the jam on first, but other people will say you put the cream on first. So for this, I weigh my eggs in their shells. So I have 134, we're going to stick with 134. I have 134 grams for my eggs. Now what I need then to make a basic vanilla sponge, I need my 134 grams of either softened room temperature butter, has to be room temperature, or margarine. If you don't have butter that's really soft and at room temperature, which mine is because mine's been out and it is quite warm in here today, so mine is hot. I've got unsalted butter. So you need your unsalted butter or your margarine. I quite often use stalk margarine, but any margarine is fine. You'll find they all do slightly different, give you a slightly different bake, and you'll find one that you like to use. And then you need the same amount of sugar. Now in a normal sponge cake it is caster sugar, but because I am making more of a caramel sponge, I'm going to use some soft brown sugar and some caster sugar, which actually gives us, I'll just grab one, here's one I made earlier, which actually gives us, where's the camera, there it is, a more caramel coloured sponge. And it's obviously a more caramel flavour because of the sugar. There we go, I thought I was going to sneeze then, but I didn't. You also need self-raising flour. Now with this method there is no need for any baking powder, any bicarbonate of soda, none of that. You don't need any of that. This is just a simple, I am going to sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry about that. That's the flour, because I have got one of the big 16 kilogram bags of flour from Cake Stuff, the only place I can get flour from at the moment, and I've just had to decant some, so I have got my flour in a little jug here, and there's a lot of flour flying around my kitchen. Like, you know when you can feel a sneeze coming? I could definitely feel that coming, but it's gone. I've washed my hands, we can get back to it. Right, so we had 134 grams. We will break our eggs into a bowl. If I'm feeling rebellious, I do sometimes break them straight into the bowl that I'm using, but you can guarantee if I do it on camera, then the shells would go in. I've just seen a question come up, so I'll answer it as we go along. Claire's just asked, if I use stalk, would it be at room temperature? No, I take it straight out of the fridge. The reason that the butter needs to be room temperature is because if you're going to use butter, you need to make sure that everything is really combined in your batter. And if your butter is too hot, thank you Alex, who's just said bless you. If your butter is too hard, then when you mix your batter together, you will have little chunks of butter in it, and then that will leave you with oily spots on your cake or your cupcakes when it's cooked. And also, if your butter and sugar or your margarine and sugar aren't properly combined, you will find that the cupcake cases will come away from the sponge as well, which is really annoying, and we don't want that. So if you're using butter, it does have to be room temperature. So I have my 2 eggs. Let's pop these in here. Everything goes in together with this method. So let's bring it back to 0. There we go. So I have my very, very soft butter. So I need 134 grams of that. You can see how soft it is. Oh, you can't see how soft it is. You have to trust me. There we go. It's really, really, really soft. Let's see if we can get this right. 121. 139. You can guarantee it's always going to go over, isn't it, when you've got somebody watching. There we go. 136, 132, 132, 132, 134. There we go. Right, we just pop the butter to one side. We need that in a moment. So we've got 134 grams of butter in there. I will now, let me get rid of, I knew I'd get in the way, let me just get rid of me. How do we get rid of me? Nope, I'm the wrong way now. Come on, you work perfectly all the time, there we go. That's quite clever, wasn't it? There we go. It works perfectly all the time, but then when I need it to work perfectly, it doesn't. Right, so I had 134 grams, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 80 grams of the soft brown sugar. It's actually more than that, but never mind. It's a little bit more. And then make it up to 134 with the caster sugar. That's gone way over now, so I just grab a spoon. At least you're getting to see what you do when things don't go exactly as they're supposed to first time. Take the big chunks out. So we need that sugar to be 134. That's gone way over. There we go. Lovely job. And now we'll add some of the flour, so cue more sneezing. Cake Stuff still have flour in stock, just letting you know. I went a bit crazy and I bought 16 kilos of plain, 16 kilos of self-raising and 16 kilos of bread flour, and I've actually been making some bread and it's been fantastic. Hi Suzanne, nice to see you. Right, let's add 134 grams of this flour. See, it's in a jug because I had to do some decanting. Right, I'm definitely not breathing. Not doing any more sneezing. Right, 105, 114. It should come out in a big plop in a minute. There we go, 134 grams of flour. Right, what I'm going to do now is put this in my mixer. This mixer's slightly better behaved than my other one. My other one, you turn it on and everything flies over the edges. This one's a little bit more gentle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it until it's all combined, and then I'm going to give it 30 seconds faster, and I'll explain why in a moment. So I'll just get it all combined. So everything's coming together. You can just see that, can't you, at the top of the screen. Katrina's just asked me if I was using large eggs. I was actually using medium eggs. It doesn't matter what size your eggs are, as long as you weigh them. That's the important thing. So you see this mix now is all combining. You can still see bits of the butter in there, even though it was very, very soft. You don't get that with the margarine. So now that's combined, I'm going to turn my mixer up. And I'm just letting it all really, really combine together. There we go. Now, if you weren't making the Biscoff cupcakes or the caramel cupcakes, this is where, before you mix it, you would add either your vanilla, or you would add some lemon zest or some orange zest or some cocoa powder, or whatever flavouring you're going for with your cake. I'm very much with the natural flavours, but I know there are lots of amazing flavours out there that you can get to flavour your cakes if you wanted to use those. Right, so let's get this off of here. Just get the mixture down the side. See that lovely caramel colour? That's from the brown sugar. Right, somebody's just asked me a question about using granulated sugar. Now you can use granulated sugar, but I only would do it if I didn't have any caster sugar. And if I had to use granulated sugar, I would probably put it in my food processor first, just to make it finer. Because I do think caster sugar is better for cakes. I think if you're using granulated sugar, it's going to give you a bit more of a grainy texture. Right, let me just push my mixer out of the way to make a bit of space. There we go. So I have my cupcake tray here, lined with cupcakes. Did I tell you the temperature of the oven? The oven is at 170 degrees centigrade. That is a fan oven. That's the temperature I cook all of my cakes at. So I put the batter down, and I'm now using an ice cream scoop. So this, if you wanted to know the size, if we put it on here, there you go, that fits into a 6 centimetre square. It's about 5.5 centimetres. Let's put it up there so my name's not in the way. So you can see, there you go, that's a 5 centimetre square. So it's about just over 5 centimetres. And what I do is I take some batter and I scrape it on the side, so it's not completely full. And I know that I'm putting exactly the same amount of batter in each case. There we go. Now this batter is quite stiff. If you use a margarine, it is runnier. So that is one of the differences you notice between using butter and margarine. I don't think there's a huge difference in the flavour, particularly if you're adding flavour to your cakes, but it's personal preference. There we go. And then you always get the anxiety, am I actually going to get 12 cupcakes out of my batter? And when you scrape around the last bit, you always do. I always find that 2 eggs, as long as they're medium or large eggs, you always get at least 12. If you use small eggs, you wouldn't. So if I only had small eggs, I would use 3 eggs and do exactly the same, weigh my mixture with the 3 eggs. There we go. So we've got our 12. Let's move the washing up out of the way. Be nice if we could give it to our assistant, but it's just me. There we go. So we have our 12 cupcakes. So I'm now going to pop those into the oven, just to make sure they're all level in there. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. Just bring me back so you can see. There we go. I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. I always like to cook my cupcakes for 21 minutes precisely. But quite often I go on smell as well. I'm sure lots of people do that. You can smell. You suddenly have a bit of intuition and you can smell when your cakes are done. So before we get to decorating, I'm just going to see if I can answer some of these questions. So Nova is asking about adding cocoa powder. Yes, if you want to add cocoa powder, you do need to reduce the flour. So say, for example, you had 125 grams of flour. You would take out, say, 20 grams of flour and add in 20 grams of cocoa powder. But you can see what the colour is. If you want it to be a bit darker, you can always add in a little bit more cocoa powder as well. If I am adding cocoa powder to my batter mix, I always make sure I add something to moisturise the cake, because cocoa powder can, if you just add cocoa powder on its own, it can make the cake a little bit dry. So I like to add a good squirt of the squeezy golden syrup, or maybe a big spoonful of yogurt, or a little splash of milk, or you can even add a tablespoon of mayonnaise or something. Just something that will, and mayonnaise really works well in chocolate cake. You just want to add something to moisturise that sponge. So golden syrup and a little splash of oil maybe, or a bit of milk or yogurt, whatever you think to add. Oh, Naomi, it's your day off. Fantastic. Naomi's watching me today. Well, nice to have you here. Right, what I'm going to do now is show you how to decorate these cupcakes. Now, here are the 12 I baked earlier. So if you have a look at them, they have nice flat tops. And the ideal cupcake to decorate is one that comes just inside the paper case like this, so you've got room to put your buttercream. So I'm not going to decorate all of them, but I will take some out and I'll show you a few different ways of icing them. Now I also have here some chocolate ganache that I made earlier. Now I made this chocolate ganache by putting 250 grams of milk chocolate in a bowl, and I put it over some hot water, and I just melted my chocolate. I made it hot and it melted. So I melted my chocolate over a pan until that was nicely melted. And then I took that off, and in the saucepan, I got rid of the water and I heated 80 millilitres of cream, and I brought that to a rapid boil so it was all bubbling around the edges, and then I quickly poured that on top of my chocolate and whisked it all in, and eventually it came up and made a lovely ganache like this. So I'm going to use this to fill some of my cakes and also use some Biscoff. So I'm just going to show you the way that I like to do it. There, Katrina says she adds sour cream to her chocolate. Perfect. Just something nice to moisturise it. Hi Ree, nice to see you're there watching. Right, so what I do, once I've got my cupcakes, to make them that little bit extra special, just grab my Biscoff. Honestly, this is so hard to get at the moment. We either have loads of it, we've currently got 3 jars, we either have loads of it or we have none of it. So yeah, the children weren't very happy about me stealing this jar. So what I do is I take a sharp knife and I just cut round in a circle. You can buy a tool to do this, but this is the way I do it. And I just dig out, chocolate down there, I just dig out the centre of the cake. There we go. See how lovely and light and fluffy these sponges are? I find I always get a really lovely light fluffy sponge with this method. There we go. I'm going to put Biscoff in the icing actually, so I am going to fill them with chocolate ganache. I just think that would be lovely, but it's up to you what you fill them with. You can fill them with, I've had children in classes before fill them with sprinkles, and then they shake the cakes like maracas. Hours of entertainment. There we go, so get rid of all those centres. Don't eat these yet, or if you really need to try a bit, all you need to do is pinch off a bit of the bottom, so you still keep that top bit. That's the bit you need. So if you need to have a little nibble, yeah, that's the bit you're allowed to nibble. I won't do that now though. Right, what I'm going to do is just put some ganache inside each of these cakes. So I've just got a spoonful of ganache, and just put that inside. Bring this this over here a little bit, make it a bit easier for me. Spoon in some ganache. Yes, Ree, Biscoff is amazing, isn't it? It's vegan as well. I've been vegan for, gosh, nearly 3 months now. It's actually a lot easier than I thought. Apart from when I'm doing things like this with cake that I really want to eat and I can't. Although I did make some amazing vegan Biscoff cakes yesterday. Just laughing at Cake Stuff admiring my lovely pink knife. I think they posted a link as well if you wanted to get one. Right, so once I put the filling in these cakes, I'm going to put these tops back in. So it's up to you whether you want to just put the whole lot in or you can pinch off the bottom. It's a bit like a jigsaw trying to find the ones that fit, but I don't really worry too much about that. Just push them in. So we've got our cakes nice and filled. So now I don't know how everybody's getting on with sourcing ingredients for things like buttercream. Is everybody managing to find things like icing sugar? I do know that Cake Stuff are stocking icing sugar. That's quite difficult to say, but it's not always in stock. So there is this amazing product which I wanted to show you. So I'm going to bring back the mix. I've just got to rearrange pretty much my whole kitchen up here. Just moving my phone so I can see that. Oh, I'm just reading remade some truffles with Biscoff in. Yeah, she's still a part-time vegan. That was what I was before I became full-time vegan. So I want to show you this. This is available from Cake Stuff. It's satin ice buttercream icing mix. Now this is actually, now I don't really like to use things that are ready-made, but this is actually really good. It tastes really good. And this, as it is vegan. You can use it as it is, but to make it taste a bit more buttery, you can add some butter. And then depending on what you want to do with it, you add a bit of water as well to slacken it. So I'm just going to show you. It comes as like this, and you see that, it's a bit bright, the light, isn't it? It comes as like this block of paste. I'll just break a little bit off to show you that it's like I'm not going to put this back in, it's like a dough. So you can swish it. And it's a dry dough, so it doesn't make any mess. It smells amazing as well. It smells of vanilla. So it smells incredible. So it comes in, it's just under 1 kilo, the tub, and it gives you really helpful instructions on the side. For every 454 grams of icing sugar mix, you need to add 57 grams of butter. So what I did is I took 450 grams of the buttercream, and I'm going to add 4 spoons of butter and a little bit of water if you need it. So I'm just going to grab my mixer again with a fresh paddle and just give that a little beat. Now that is, as I just showed you, that is like a dough, that is really hard. So what I'm going to do is add approximately 57 grams of butter. So I'm going to add 4 spoons of butter. Let's have a look at that. Alright, well I did 3 so far, let's have a look. Yeah, that's smoothing up nicely. I'll add a little bit more. I'm going to add, I hope you can still hear me, I'm going to add my tablespoon of water. But I'm not going to add a tablespoon all at once. Just going to add a little bit. That didn't quite work, did it? Add a little bit. There we go. Just going to turn it up a little bit. There we go, so that's a beautiful, soft and creamy buttercream there. I just have a go with my palette knife. Yeah, that's lovely and soft. So that is perfect for piping right there. And if you wanted to colour that, the Colour Mills colours, let me just grab one to show you. They are never far away from me. These colours are, where are we? These colours are wonderful for colouring. Sorry, I've just given Cake Stuff another job, something else to list. They just put a link up for the buttercream. These colours are fantastic for colouring chocolate and buttercream as well as your fondant. They work really well because they're oil based, and so they take the colour really easily in something that is oily like buttercream. But we're not going to use those today. We'll save that for another time. I will do another different cupcake decorating video when I will use some colours. What I'm going to add to this is some Biscoff. Oh, that smells good too. So let me just find one of my spoons. We put a nice big tablespoon of Biscoff. I'm going to remove me again because I think I am in the way. There we go. That's much better. Right, I put a big tablespoon of Biscoff into the icing. I don't have to look at myself while I'm talking then either. And I'm going to, oh, I keep nudging the camera. Sorry about that, I hope I'm not making anyone seasick. Just going to mix that up. There we go, so we have a lovely vegan, no not vegan, a lovely, I was just reading, Rhiannon said she's a part-time vegan. We have some lovely Biscoff buttercream here. So what I'm going to do first of all, remember I said I had a nice gap between my sponge and the top of the case. What I like to do first of all is put some buttercream and fill that gap. So I spread it as if I am spreading butter on a piece of toast. And I pull my knife towards me. See, the sun's got a little bit bright there. Hopefully you can see all right. Pull my knife towards me and rotate the cake in my hand. Now, if you have a cake that has come away from its case, this is a really good way to stick the cases back on as well. So you just rotate round like that. I'll just do a couple of these. There we go. My children are eagerly waiting to eat these. And I'm definitely going to have to make some vegan ones now. Yes, you can use vegan butter. Just had a question come up. Yes, you definitely can use vegan butter. Whatever's your favourite. We're really liking the Vitalite at the moment. That seems to be our favourite in the UK. Depending on where you are, what you can get. I did see a really nice recipe that somebody on Instagram had made their own vegan butter. I definitely need to look into that. So that'll do. We'll just do 4. I just want to show you a few different ways of piping, quite simply, just to make your cupcakes look a little bit special. So you can bake your cupcakes for yourself at home, or you can give them to your neighbours, or whatever you want to do with them, but just make them look a little bit extra special. So I'm going to break up an actual Biscoff biscuit, which I could eat if I wanted to, but then wouldn't be able to use it on here. So I'm going to just crumble that up in here. Just see someone's bought a couple of the Colourmill colours after seeing me using them. Oh, fantastic. And they're great. Yeah, I love them. I have every single colour, I think. I absolutely love them. I use them for everything. I even use them for paint. In fact, I use them a lot for painting. I do cocoa butter painting, and I use them for that because obviously they mix really well with the melted cocoa butter. Maybe I'll do that in one of these lives another day, do some cocoa butter painting. If anybody would like that. Suzanne hasn't told me yet what she's doing next week. I think she's coming up on Thursday. So yeah, keep an eye on Suzanne's page and also on the Cake Stuff page, and I'm sure we'll find out very soon what she's doing. Right, what I'm going to use now is just a, sorry Cake Stuff guys, another thing for you to list. I've got a roll of disposable piping bags. I like to use these disposable piping bags, not the most environmentally friendly thing I know, but I do reuse them. I don't just use them once, I do wash them and reuse them if I'm using them for a project for myself, or if I'm using them at home and I can reuse them easily. I give them a really good wash and then put them out to dry. So what I'm going to do, I have here my favourite Wilton 1M star tip. Now you can use, for the decorations I'm showing you, you need to use a star tip, but you can use either this lovely open star tip, the 1M, I'm just looking to see if I have one nearby, or you can use my other favourite, the 2D, which is the same nozzle, but it has been, oh, just been distracted by Cake Stuff, I'll tell you why in a minute, but the tops have been bent in, so it's just a little bit more closed. I've just seen, hot off the press, that Colour Mill 100ml bottles are coming soon. So these bottles are, how many mils are in these? I would get, 20 mils, 100ml bottles, amazing. Yeah, because I do have a few bottles that I have to keep buying, in particular the rose pink is one of my favourites, and also this gorgeous lime. I absolutely love this colour. And also the sky blue. I've been painting some cookies, so that's why I've got those colours out at the moment. Foliage and sky. Right, where were we? I've got my 1D, I've got my 1M tip. Making a hybrid there, 1D. So I cut the end off my piping bag. I think you missed that, you didn't see. I've just cut off, like that, just cut off there. And hopefully that's the right place now. Oh, my mum's just joined us. Hi, Mum. I did promise I'd say hello to her. There we go, so I've just put that in there. Suzanne's just said, yes, she's definitely demoing on Thursday. She hasn't decided yet what she's going to demo, so if there are any requests, just pop them below. Otherwise, we will keep coming up with things that we hope that you like, and you can let us know. I'm happy to carry on doing baking, doing lots of different recipes. There's lots of people enjoying afternoon teas at the moment, so I'm quite happy doing lots more recipes to be enjoyed with your sandwiches, or decorating, or anything. Let us know, we're quite happy. Red velvet cake, I actually did that the other day on my Facebook page. I'm very happy to revisit that and do that again. Right, so I've put some icing in my piping bag. Too busy chattering. What I did is I folded that over my hands like that, so I can easily fill the bag with my spoon and then grab hold of the spoon with my hand and pull off the icing that's on it, so I don't actually get it over my hands. I've just got it all over the other hand, but I just wipe that on my cloth and nobody will know. There we go. Just move this out of the way. Right, so once I've got my buttercream in my piping bag, just push it down to the bottom. Push it down so there's no gap. And then what you need to do is make sure that you twist the top. Now this stops the buttercream from spurting out the end and all over your arm. So this is where you squeeze from. You always squeeze from this end. That's where the pressure comes from. If you start squeezing from this end, you will find again that the buttercream will start working its way out. So this is your steering hand at the bottom, and this is your squeezing hand at the top. So I'm just going to show you some really simple ways to make these cakes look beautiful and presentable. So one of my favourite ways is just to have my cake and my piping nozzle at 90 degrees to each other, and I just want to move backwards and forwards across the cake. So I'll just show you down on the table, backwards and forwards. There we go, across the cake like that. Then I can take some of my bisque off and just sprinkle it across the top. So there we go, there's one. Another way to do it is to keep your piping nozzle at 90 degrees to your cake, and I'm literally putting the nozzle down so it's almost touching the cake, squeezing hard, and then gradually pulling away, stopping squeezing, and then pulling away. So I will show you what I mean. So I've got my piping nozzle at 90 degrees. If I do it slightly at an angle, you'll be able to see, so it'll go off at an angle, but that's okay. Squeeze hard, give it a little wiggle, and pull up slightly, then stop squeezing and pull away. And you end up with like a little type Christmas tree type thing. And give that a little sprinkle of bisque over the top. Here we go. Another thing you can do is pipe a little rose in the middle. So start in the middle, again at 90 degrees. You can't see what I'm doing, can you? There you go. Start in the middle at 90 degrees. You want to pipe your rose by squeezing, going around. I'll try it on here, hopefully it won't fall off. So squeeze, pull away slightly and go round slowly. Get to the end, stop squeezing, push down and pull up. There we go. Like that. It's not very central because I was doing it sideways, but you know what I mean. There we go, just put some bisque over the top of these. I'll do some another day with colours and we'll put little decorations on them as well. And then another way you can do them, this just makes a nice interesting plate of all the same flavour cakes, but they just all look different. And you'll see people go for their favourite designs as well. So now we're going to make the most of the star tip, and we're going to just pipe little, I call these hydrangeas because they look like little hydrangeas, but again I've got the cake at 90 degrees to the nozzle, so the nozzle's pointing straight up. I want to squeeze, stop squeezing and pull away, so I get that nice little star shape. So then I'm just going to go around the outside. There we go, you can see there was a piece of Biscoff caught in the nozzle there, it wasn't coming out properly. There we go, so I've gone all the way around the outside. You can leave it like that, and you could actually, just to be extra decadent, you can get a little bit of Biscoff and pop it in the middle. There we go, like that. I think that would be the one that I would choose. There we go. Right, so we're done. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you will all now be, let me put me back on so you can see me. Is it going to work? There we go. I hope you're all now going to be going away and baking some cupcakes. You can, as I said, you can use that same recipe for your bigger cakes. I've been doing quite a lot of recipes on my Facebook page, Angel's Kitchen, and I have been I'm doing 6 egg mixtures and 8 egg mixtures, all different sizes, and then putting them in bigger tins, doing some cupcakes, mixing it up a little bit. So there's all sorts of things you can do with that. So I'll just have a look, see if I've missed any questions that I can answer now. I think I did quite well at answering them as we went. Like I said, and like Suzanne's just said as well in her message, if there are any requests you have for things you would like us to do, whether you want us to try out some of the new equipment or something you've always wanted to buy and you haven't taken the plunge, let us know. Or if there's a technique that you want to get to grips with, we'll do our best. We'll see what we can do. Between us, we've got quite a few years of caking, so we should be able to help you. Right, I think I have answered all of the questions. So if anyone does have any questions, please do post them below and I will go back through and have a look. But thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing what cakes you make. Hope you enjoyed them, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye.